My name is Alina Tors, and until one rainy Thursday morning, I believed my life was finally stable. I was 31, married to a man who loved me, and the mother of a 7-week-old baby boy named Noah. We had just survived the sleepless nights, the feeding schedule chaos, the constant fear that I was doing everything wrong. That morning, I strapped Noah into his car seat and drove out for what was supposed to be a harmless errand, 10 minutes to the pharmacy and back. I never made it there. At an intersection I crossed every day, a pickup truck blasted through a red light and slammed into the front corner of my sedan. The sound wasn't loud the way movies make it seem. It was heavy, final, like two worlds colliding. I woke up staring at a cracked ambulance ceiling, my arm burning, my head spinning so badly I couldn't tell if I was upside down or not. Someone kept asking me questions. My name, the date, where it hurt. All I could think about was Noah. My baby, I whispered through dry lips. He's at home. A paramedic leaned closer. Who's with him? My neighbor, I said. She's 76. She said she could only watch him for a few minutes. That's when panic finally broke through the fog. Noah was exclusively breastfed. He refused bottles. He cried when strangers held him too long. And now I was strapped to a stretcher with blood on my forehead and no idea how long I'd be gone. With shaking fingers, I unlocked my phone and called the one person I thought would come without hesitation. My mother. She answered on the fourth ring, breathless. Elena, I'm in the middle of a facial. What's wrong? Mom, I said, forcing air into my lungs. I've been in a car accident. I'm in an ambulance. Noah is at home with Mrs. Patel. I need you to go get him, please. There was a pause, then a sigh. An accident, she said slowly. Are you sure it's serious? You always panic over medical things. I'm bleeding, I whispered. They think I have a concussion. Well, your father and I are packing. Our flight is tonight. The words didn't register at first. Packing, I repeated. Our anniversary trip, she said. You remember, Italy. We've had this booked for months. My chest tightened in a way that had nothing to do with the crash. Mom, I said, I just need you for a few hours, until my husband can fly back. That's not really possible, she replied. We still have errands and traffic is awful today. I stared at the ceiling, stunned. So, you're not coming? She hesitated. Can't you hire someone or ask a friend? You're good at handling things yourself, Alina. The line went quiet. In that moment, strapped to a gurney, injured and terrified, I realized something painful. I was completely on my own. And that was only the beginning. But what happened next, the decision I made from a hospital bed, would change my family forever. The ambulance doors closed with a hollow thud, sealing me inside with the steady beep of machines and the sharp smell of antiseptic. My mother hadn't called back. Not a text. Not a single, "Are you okay?" The paramedic noticed my tears and gently wiped blood from my temple. Do you have anyone else we can contact? I scrolled through my phone with trembling hands. My husband, Daniel, was in Chicago for a conference. His flight home wasn't for another 4 hours. My closest friend had moved overseas last year. My in-laws lived 8 hours away. Every name I paused on came with the same problem. Too far, too busy, unavailable. Noah was at home with a woman who had arthritis and no idea how to calm a newborn who refused bottles. I was running out of time. Then I remembered something I'd saved months earlier, a screenshot from a late-night search when I was pregnant and terrified about labor emergencies. 24/7 newborn emergency care, on-call specialists. It had seemed unnecessary then. Dramatic even, now it felt like a lifeline. With clumsy fingers I dialed. Newborn Care Services, this is Leela, a calm voice answered. I need help, I said, the words tumbling over each other. I'm in an ambulance. My baby is 7 weeks old, breastfed only, and he's with an elderly neighbor who can't care for him long. I don't have family who can come. There was no judgment in her tone, no hesitation. We can have a nurse with your baby within 40 minutes, she said. Where is he now? Relief hit me so suddenly I started sobbing. I gave her the address. She asked quick, efficient questions, allergies, feeding schedule, emergency contacts. She told me the nurse assigned was a pediatric RN with 12 years of newborn experience. Your son will be safe, she said. Focus on yourself now. For the first time since the crash, I believed someone. At the hospital, everything blurred together, scans, bright lights, doctors murmuring words like fracture, observation, and possible internal bruising. They stitched my forehead and wrapped my arm, then wheeled me into a quiet room for monitoring. That's when my phone finally rang. "Elena," Daniel's voice broke through. "I just landed and saw your messages. Oh my God, are you okay? Where's Noah?" I told him everything, the crash, my mother, the care service. Silence. "She refused?" he asked. "She had a trip," I whispered. His voice went hard in a way I'd never heard before. "I'm booking the first flight back. Presentation be damned, I'll be there tonight." When the call ended, the nurse came in to check my vitals. "You have someone with your baby now," she said kindly. "That's good." I nodded, staring at the ceiling. But what I didn't tell her, what I hadn't even admitted to myself yet, was this. The woman who just refused to help me had depended on me for years in ways she never knew. And by morning, that was about to change. Because lying there in that hospital bed, I made a decision that would quietly pull the foundation out from under my entire family. The hospital room was too quiet. Machines hummed softly beside me, measuring things I couldn't feel, while pain throbbed in places I didn't know existed. Outside the narrow window, dusk bled into night, and with every passing minute, the shock of what had happened settled deeper into my bones. My mother still hadn't called, not to ask about my injuries, not to ask about Noah, not even to confirm I was alive. I unlocked my phone again, this time not to call anyone, but to open my banking app. It was something I hadn't looked at closely in years. Buried in my automatic payments list was a transfer labeled simply, "Mortgage Assist, $3,800 every month for 9 years." I set it up when I was 22, right after landing my first real job. My parents had called in tears one evening, saying Dad's hours were being cut, that the mortgage was suffocating them, that they might lose the house. I didn't hesitate. I created a separate account, routed the payments through it, never told them it was me. They thought my father's pension had improved, or that my mother's bookkeeping clients had grown. They never questioned why their finances suddenly stabilized, and I never corrected them, because helping them felt like love, because earning their approval felt like survival, because somewhere deep down I believed if I took care of them long enough, they would finally take care of me. 9 years, over $400,000, enough to erase my student loans, enough to buy our house outright, enough to build Noah's future before he could even crawl. And yet, when I was broken on the side of a highway with their grandson crying at home, I was too inconvenient. My finger hovered over the transfer. The next payment was scheduled for midnight. I thought about my mother's voice. Calm, unbothered, talking about luggage while I bled into an ambulance blanket. I canceled it. The app asked me to confirm. "Are you sure you want to stop this recurring payment?" Yes, my hand didn't shake. Then I did something else. I opened a new savings account. I named it Noah's Future. And I scheduled the same monthly amount, every dollar I'd been sending away for years, to go there instead. Not out of anger, out of clarity. The nurse returned just as I hit confirm. "You look lighter," she said. "Like something heavy came off your shoulders." I almost laughed. A few minutes later, the door opened. I expected Daniel. Instead, I saw my grandfather, 82 years old, upright posture, sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Grandpa," I whispered, "how did you—" "Your neighbor called me," he said gently. "She heard your conversation with your mother." He pulled a chair close and took my uninjured hand. "She refused to help you," he said quietly. "And she called you dramatic." I nodded. His jaw tightened. "Your grandmother worried about this before she passed, about how differently you were treated." Tears slid down my temples. "I didn't want to see it," I admitted. It was easier to believe I was the problem. He sat with me in silence for a long moment. Then he said the words that made my heart stop. "Elena, your father and mother's anniversary trip?" "Yes, I paid for it," my breath caught. "And I canceled it this afternoon." But what my grandfather did next, with one phone call, would expose a truth my mother never expected to face. I stared at my grandfather, convinced I'd misheard him. "You canceled their trip?" I whispered. He nodded once slowly. "I was the one who booked it, their anniversary gift, $12,000 all-inclusive." I thought I was doing something kind. My heart pounded. "Grandpa, you didn't have to—" "Yes," he said firmly. "I did." He leaned forward, voice low but steady. "When your neighbor told me what your mother said, I called her." I closed my eyes, bracing myself. She told me you were exaggerating, that you were fine, that the baby was your responsibility. His jaw tightened. Then she said something I can't forget. My throat went dry. What? She said, Alina always causes chaos. She needs to learn to handle consequences. The word echoed inside my skull. Consequences, about my newborn, about me lying in a hospital bed. That's when I canceled the cruise, he continued. And that's when I told her I knew about the money. My eyes snapped open. You told her. She didn't know, he asked quietly. No, I said. No one did, he exhaled slowly. Then she learned today. My stomach twisted. She denied it at first, he said it must be a mistake. Then I told her the numbers, the years, the total. I swallowed. What did she say? At first, he gave a humorless smile. Nothing. Just silence. Then his expression hardened. But then she said, well, she makes good money. It's not like she needed it. The words hit harder than any crash ever could. I turned my face away, tears soaking into the pillow. She never once asked how you were, Grandpa said softly. Never asked about Noah, only asked one thing. What? If the payments would continue. A quiet, broken sound escaped my chest. That's when I told her she had 24 hours, he said. I looked back at him. 24 hours for what? To come here, apologize, look her injured daughter in the eye, meet her grandson properly. And thank you for what you've done. And if she doesn't? His eyes were calm, resolute. Then I'm rewriting my will. The room seemed to tilt. Grandpa, she will not inherit my house, my investments, my savings, he said. All of it will go to you and Noah instead. I stared at him, stunned. I'm not doing this to punish her, he continued. I'm doing this to protect you, and that child. There was a knock on the door. Daniel rushed in, eyes wild, still wearing his conference badge. When he saw me, relief collapsed his shoulders and he pulled me gently into his arms. I'm here, he whispered. I'm not going anywhere. Grandpa stood. Good. She'll need you. He kissed my forehead carefully. Rest now, I'm going to meet my great-grandson. As he left, my phone buzzed, a text from my mother. We need to talk. Your grandfather is being unreasonable. I stared at the screen, heart racing. Because by morning, my family would wake up to a reality they had never prepared for, and nothing would ever be the same again. Morning came slowly, filtered through pale hospital curtains and the steady rhythm of machines beside my bed. I hadn't slept much. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard my mother's voice again, calm, dismissive, choosing luggage over her injured daughter and crying grandson. Daniel was asleep in the chair beside me, one hand still resting protectively on my blanket. My phone, however, had not been quiet. 6 missed calls, 12 unread messages, all from family. I opened the first one from my mother. Alina, this has gotten completely out of hand. Your grandfather is confused. We need to fix this immediately. Fix this. Not apologize, not ask how I was. Fix the inconvenience. Another message followed minutes later. I never said I wouldn't help. You misunderstood me. You're making me look like a terrible mother. A bitter laugh escaped my throat. Then came my sister. What did you do? Mom is hysterical. Grandpa canceled the trip and is threatening to change his will. You're destroying the family over nothing. Over nothing. Broken bones, a newborn alone, 9 years of silent sacrifice. I typed once, erased it, then finally replied. I was in a car accident. I needed help. She chose a vacation. Her response came fast. You're exaggerating. You're fine now, aren't you? Mom worked hard for that trip. You're always so dramatic. I closed my eyes, breathing slowly. An hour later, my grandfather returned, this time carrying a small bundle wrapped in a soft blue blanket. Noah. The sight of my son nearly shattered me. He was peaceful, milk-drunk, and warm, his tiny fingers curled into fists as if holding onto dreams. The nurse had arranged for him to be brought in. Daniel carefully placed him in my arms, and the moment his skin touched mine, something inside me finally settled. I was here. He was safe. We were together. Grandpa watched us quietly, eyes shining. She didn't come, he said after a while. I nodded. I didn't expect her to. She called me instead, he continued. 3 times, crying about the house, the car, the bills. Not about me. Not about Noah, just about money. She begged, he said softly. Promised to apologize eventually, asked if I could convince you to restart the payments. My jaw tightened. And I told her no, he said. And then I told her something else. I looked up. I told her the payments had stopped permanently, he said, and that I'd already signed the first draft of the new will this morning. My breath caught. She won't be disinherited completely, he added, but the life she built on your money ends now. Tears slipped silently down my cheeks. Later that afternoon, the doctor cleared me for discharge with weeks of strict rest. Daniel drove us home, Noah sleeping between us, the world strangely quiet after chaos. That evening, my phone rang from an unfamiliar number. I answered. "Elena," my mother said, voice trembling. "There's been some mistake with our mortgage payment." I closed my eyes. "No," I said softly. "There hasn't." And in the next few minutes, I would finally say the words I had swallowed for nearly a decade, words that would sever the last thread tying me to the life I used to know. The silence on the other end of the phone was heavy. "What do you mean, no mistake?" my mother asked carefully. I sat on the couch, Noah asleep against my chest, Daniel nearby pretending not to listen while catching every word. "I canceled the payments," I said. "All of them." Her breath hitched. "Elena, you can't do that. We'll lose the house." "You almost lost your daughter," I replied quietly. She scoffed. "Don't be dramatic, you're fine. You're home already." "Because strangers helped me," I said. "Because a nurse showed up when you wouldn't." A pause. Then anger crept into her voice. "After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us." The words landed like old, familiar stones. "Everything you've done?" I repeated. "Mom, I paid your mortgage for 9 years." "That was your choice," she snapped. "We never asked." "You cried on the phone about losing the house," I said. "I was 22. I thought saving you was my responsibility." "Well," she said sharply, "family helps family." I almost laughed. "Where was that rule yesterday?" I asked. "When I needed 3 hours, when your grandson needed you." She went quiet. Then softer, "I said I was sorry." "No," I said. "You said you were misunderstood." Another silence. "Elena," she tried again, "your father and I are your parents. You can't abandon us." The irony nearly stole my breath. "You abandoned me first," I said. "In an ambulance, in fear, with your grandchild crying at home." Her voice trembled. "So you're just going to let us fail?" I looked down at Noah, at the tiny rise and fall of his chest. "I'm going to let you live within your means," I said, "the way I've been doing for years." She began to cry then, real sobs. "We'll lose everything," she whispered. "And I almost did," I said. "But you didn't come?" When I hung up, my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from release. That night, the calls started, from my father, from my sister, from relatives I barely remembered, all with the same message. "You're tearing the family apart. Your mother is devastated. How could you be so cruel?" Not when asked how my injuries were healing. Not when asked about Noah. I blocked them all. The next morning, Grandpa visited again. "She's furious," he said gently, "and frightened." "I know. But she still hasn't apologized," he added. I shook my head. "She doesn't know how." He studied me carefully. "And you?" "I finally know how to stop," I said. Weeks passed. Bills bounced. Their car was repossessed. They sold the house and moved into a small condo across town. I heard all of this through distant family whispers. I felt nothing. No joy, no guilt, just peace. One afternoon, while rocking Noah to sleep, a letter arrived. From my sister. Because what she wrote inside that envelope would prove something I had suspected for years, the envelope sat on the kitchen counter for a long time before I touched it. I recognized my sister Marissa's handwriting instantly, neat, confident, always slightly slanted, just like her life had always seemed. Smooth, favored, unquestioned. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity and something like closure finally won. The letter inside was longer than I expected. "Elena, I'm writing because I finally understand what you tried to tell me all these years." My breath slowed. She wrote about the phone calls that had started after my parents lost the house, how they had asked for temporary help, how temporary had turned into monthly, then weekly, then desperate requests. She wrote about the guilt, the pressure, the anger. Mom said I owed her. That family doesn't say no, that you were selfish and ungrateful, and now it was my turn to step up. I closed my eyes, of course. "I've given them nearly $40,000 this year," she continued. "And when I said I couldn't anymore, she called me cold. She said I was abandoning her, the same words she used about you." My hands trembled slightly. "My husband is furious. Our savings are gone. And for the first time, I see it the way she drains whoever loves her most, then resents them for being useful. There it was. The truth. You weren't dramatic, Marissa wrote. You were surviving. And when you stopped being useful, you became disposable. Tears blurred the page. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I'm sorry I chose her over you. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know you were right. I folded the letter slowly and set it down. No anger rose, no triumph, only sadness for the years both of us had lost trying to earn love that was never going to be freely given. I wrote back that night. Not long, not bitter. Thank you for your honesty. I hope you find the courage to protect yourself the way I finally did. I'm not ready to rebuild a relationship yet. Maybe someday. Take care of yourself. And that was the last time I heard from her. Life moved forward quietly after that. My injuries healed. Noah learned to smile, then laugh, then crawl. Daniel got promoted, and we began saving properly for the first time. The money that once vanished into someone else's comfort now built our child's future. Grandpa came every Sunday. He read to Noah, told stories about my grandmother, taught my son to grip his finger like he once taught me. One afternoon, as we sat on the porch watching Noah play, Grandpa spoke softly. Your mother still thinks she's the victim. I nodded. She always will. And you? I'm done trying to change her story, I said. I'm writing my own now. He smiled. 6 months later, a final message arrived from my mother. Just 3 words. You'll regret this. I deleted it. Because 2 years later, standing in a park with my son laughing beside me, I realized something that changed the way I understood family forever. 2 years later, I stood in a small neighborhood park, watching my son race unsteadily across the grass. Noah was almost 3 now, stubborn, loud, endlessly curious, and completely unaware that his life had once been shaped by a single unanswered phone call. He shrieked with laughter as my grandfather pushed him gently on the swing, the same crooked smile on his face that had guided me through my hardest days. This, right here, was family. Not obligation, not guilt, not money disguised as love, just presence. A young mother nearby struck up a conversation while our kids played. Do your parents help much? She asked casually. I glanced at Grandpa, who was tying Noah's shoelaces with exaggerated seriousness. My grandfather comes every week, I said with a smile. He's the one who matters. She nodded, satisfied, and the topic drifted away. But inside, something settled permanently. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't embarrassed by the truth. I didn't need to explain broken relationships or defend hard choices. I had built something better. At home, our life was quieter now. The money that once vanished into someone else's comfort now funded Noah's future. College savings, emergency funds, freedom I never had. Daniel and I laughed more, slept better, planned without fear. And most importantly, I no longer felt like love was something I had to earn. Once a year, on Noah's birthday, a card still arrived. From my mother, I never opened them. They went into a small box in the garage, sealed with tape and time. Maybe someday Noah would ask about her. Maybe he wouldn't. Either way, I knew what I would tell him. That family is not defined by blood. It's defined by who shows up when you're afraid, who holds your hand in hospitals, who protects your children, who chooses you when it costs them something. Grandpa eventually told me what my mother had said after the will was finalized. She told me you turned me against her, he said quietly. I shook my head. I just stopped protecting the lie, he smiled. And in doing so, you protected yourself. Last month, I received one final update through a distant cousin. My parents were both working full-time now, living modestly, struggling but surviving, and for the first time in nearly a decade on their own. I felt no revenge, no satisfaction, only gratitude, because losing them had given me something far more valuable than money or inheritance or approval. It gave me peace. If you're listening to this and recognizing yourself in my story, the one who gives too much, apologizes too often, funds love that should be free, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not obligated to finance your own mistreatment. You are not selfish for protecting your future. And walking away from people who only value what you provide is not abandonment. It's survival. My name is Alina Torres. I used to be a daughter trying to earn love. Now I'm a mother teaching my son what real love looks like. And that is the family I will always choose. Because sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't money at all, it's the courage to finally choose yourself.